You've probably heard someone say money is just a tool. That's true. But here's what nobody tells you. A tool in the wrong hands doesn't build anything. It just sits there, rusting. Right now, somewhere in the world, two people earn the exact same salary. They live in the same city. They pay the same rent. One of them, 10 years from now, will have options. The other one will still be waiting for the next paycheck, wondering where it all went. Same income, completely different outcomes. And the difference isn't luck. It's not inheritance. It's not even intelligence. It's habits. Specific, invisible, quietly devastating habits that most people carry for decades without ever questioning them. Habits that feel completely rational, that look like normal adult behavior, that everyone around you is doing too. That's exactly what makes them dangerous. Today we're going to go through 7 of them, and I want to warn you, at least 2 or 3 of these are probably things you did last week. Let's start with habit number 1. Spending first, saving what's left. This is the default financial behavior of most people on Earth. You get paid, you pay your bills, you buy your groceries, you go out a couple of times, you treat yourself a little because you worked hard and you deserve it, and then at the end of the month, you look at what's remaining and you either save it, or more often, you realize there's nothing left to save. This feels responsible because you covered your obligations, you paid your bills, you kept the lights on. But here's the brutal math. If you do this from age 22 to age 65, you will have saved on average between 0 and 3% of your lifetime income. 3%. That's the national savings rate in several developed countries. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. The people who actually build wealth reverse this equation. They automate a fixed amount out the moment their paycheck arrives. Not the leftovers, the first portion. And then they live on what remains. It's called paying yourself first, and it sounds like a cliche because it gets repeated so often. But the reason it gets repeated is that most people hear it, nod, and then go home and do the opposite. Habit number 2. Treating your lifestyle like a reward system. Every time you get a raise, something interesting happens. Your expenses go up, not immediately, but gradually, reliably, almost magnetically. A better apartment, a nicer car, upgraded subscriptions, better restaurants, a wardrobe refresh. Economists have a name for this, lifestyle inflation, and it is one of the most underestimated wealth destroyers in existence. Here's the quiet absurdity of it. You spent years working toward a raise. You got it. And within 18 months, you're just as financially stressed as you were before. Sometimes more, because now you have a nicer life and the exact same margins. In 2022, a study found that Americans earning over $100,000 a year still describe themselves as living paycheck to paycheck. That number was 36%, more than 1 in 3. People earning 6 figures, stressed about money, because the income went up and the lifestyle followed it immediately, like a shadow. There's nothing wrong with spending more as you earn more. The question is the ratio. If every dollar of new income turns into a new expense, you're running in place on an increasingly expensive treadmill. Habit number 3. Avoiding investing because it feels complicated or risky. This one has a very specific flavor. It usually sounds like, I'll start investing when I understand it better, or I don't want to lose money so I'll just keep it in savings for now, or simply, I'll get to it eventually. Eventually is a very expensive word. Here's the uncomfortable math. If you invest $300 a month starting at age 25 at an average market return of 7% annually, you'll have roughly $790,000 by age 65. If you wait until 35 to start, same amount, same return, you end up with about $380,000. 10 years of delay, more than $400,000 gone. That's not a motivational statistic. That's just compound interest doing its thing. Silently, indifferently, either working for you or against you, depending entirely on whether you showed up. The irony is that the people most afraid of losing money by investing are often the same people losing money to inflation by not investing. A savings account paying 0.5% interest while inflation runs at 3 or 4% isn't safety. It's slow erosion that feels like stability. Habit number 4. Buying things to feel wealthy instead of buying things to become wealthy. Walk into any car dealership. Sit down with a salesperson. Within 90 seconds, they will ask you one question. What monthly payment are you comfortable with? Not, what is the total cost of this vehicle? Not, have you considered the insurance, maintenance, and depreciation over 5 years? Just, how much can you stomach per month? This is the architecture of feeling rich. Monthly payments have made it possible for people to live at a standard that looks like wealth while quietly moving in the opposite direction. The average American car payment in 2024 was $735 a month. That's $8,820 a year for a depreciating asset that loses roughly 20% of its value the moment it leaves the lot. Meanwhile, the assets that actually build wealth, index funds, property, businesses, skills, are boring. They don't have showrooms. They don't give you something to park in the driveway and feel good about. They just compound quietly in the background while you're busy looking rich. There's a line often attributed to Thomas Stanley, who spent decades studying actual millionaires. He found that most of them drove ordinary cars, lived in modest homes, and looked nothing like what television told us wealth looks like. The people who look wealthy on the outside are often the most financially fragile on the inside, and the reverse is more common than anyone wants to admit. Habit number 5. Using debt as a lifestyle tool instead of a wealth tool. Debt is not inherently evil. That's an important distinction. Debt used to acquire something that generates more value than it costs, a business, a rental property, an education that meaningfully increases your earning power, that's leverage. That's how wealth compounds. But there's another kind of debt, the kind that funds experiences, convenience, and consumption. Credit card debt, buy now, pay later schemes, personal loans for vacations, and this version of debt doesn't leverage your future, it mortgages it. The average credit card interest rate in the United States is currently hovering around 20 to 22%. Think about what that means. If you carry a $5,000 balance at 21% interest and only make minimum payments, you will pay roughly $8,000 over the life of that debt, and it will take you over 20 years to clear it. You borrowed $5,000 and paid back $13,000 for things you probably can't specifically remember buying. The insidious part is how accessible this all feels. Tap your card, approve the loan, click confirm on the installment plan. The friction has been engineered out of debt entirely. The payment happens instantly. The consequences unfold slowly, over years, quietly, while you're focused on something else. Habit number 6, having no relationship with the actual numbers in your life. Most people have no idea what they spend in a month. Not roughly, not categorically, no idea. They know their rent, they probably know their car payment, but the total, the actual outflow of money from their life every 30 days, blurry at best. And this is fascinating because these are the same people who would never get into a car and drive without any sense of where they were going. They'd never run a business without looking at the numbers. But their personal finances, the foundation of every other financial decision in their life, those operate largely on feel and optimism. There's a psychological reason for this. Tracking spending forces confrontation. It makes the coffee habit a line item. It makes the subscription you forgot about visible again. It makes the eating out total look alarming in a way that individual transactions never do. But here's the thing about confrontation. The discomfort is temporary. The clarity is permanent. People who actively track their money, even loosely, consistently make better financial decisions, not because they're more disciplined, but because they have information. And information changes behavior in ways that guilt and intention simply don't. Habit number 7, optimizing for income while ignoring the wealth gap. This is perhaps the most sophisticated trap of all, and it's the one that catches high earners specifically. The assumption is that income is the variable that matters most. If I just earn more, the financial stress goes away. If I just get that next promotion, the next raise, the next contract, then I'll be okay. And income matters. Obviously it matters. But income and wealth are not the same thing. Income is what comes in. Wealth is what stays. There are people earning $400,000 a year who are one job loss away from catastrophe. And there are people who earn $60,000 for their entire careers who retire with genuine financial security. The difference is never just the income. It's always the gap between what came in and what was kept.
invested and allowed to grow. This habit is subtle because chasing income feels productive. It feels like the responsible, ambitious thing to do, and it is, but only if the other variables are also being managed. Income without savings architecture, without investment behavior, without spending discipline is just a higher speed version of the same cycle. The person earning $400,000 and spending $395,000 is financially in a more precarious position than the person earning $80,000 and keeping $20,000 of it. That's not a moral judgment. It's arithmetic. So here's where we land. 7 habits. None of them dramatic. None of them require a financial collapse or a bankruptcy filing to take root. They're just the default settings. The ones society handed you. The ones that feel normal because everyone around you operates the same way. And here's the question I want to leave you with. If these habits are this common, this widespread, this completely embedded in how modern life is structured, then the real question isn't why people struggle financially. The real question is who benefits